Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel Numismatic World. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of rare and high-value coins. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist or just curious about the treasures hiding in your piggy bank, this video is for you. We'll explore some of the most sought-after coins, their histories, and what makes them so valuable. So grab your magnifying glass, and let's get started on this exciting journey through time and currency. The 1965 Washington silver quarter dollar holds an important place in U.S. numismatic history, reflecting a time of significant change in the nation's coinage system. To understand the context and composition of this coin, it's essential to look at both its historical background and its physical features in more detail. In the early 1960s, the U.S. government was facing an escalating shortage of silver. Silver had long been a key component of many U.S. coins, including the quarter, which had been made of 90% silver since its inception in 1796. By the early 1960s, however, the rising cost of silver, compounded by widespread silver hoarding, was causing a serious problem. People began to melt down silver coins because the value of their metal content was higher than their face value, resulting in a depletion of circulating silver coinage. The price of silver in the market also began to exceed the nominal value of the coins, which caused a disruption in the money supply. In 1965, in response to these issues, the U.S. Treasury Department decided to discontinue the use of silver in most coins. The mint stopped producing the regular quarter dollar with its traditional 90% silver composition. This was part of a broader decision to eliminate silver from the dime and half dollar as well. The coins were to be replaced with clad coinage, which consisted of a core of pure copper sandwiched between two layers of copper nickel. This change was driven not only by the scarcity of silver but also by the need for a more cost-effective way to produce coins that would remain in circulation without being hoarded or melted down. However, this transition did not apply to all quarters in 1965. While the regular quarters for circulation were now composed of the copper-nickel clad, the U.S. Mint continued to produce a limited number of proof sets for collectors, and these proof coins were still made from 90% silver, just as they had been before 1965. This is where the 1965 Washington silver quarter comes into play. The 1965 Washington silver quarter was part of the annual proof coin set, which included proof versions of all the circulating coins, including the penny, nickel, dime, and half dollar. Proof coins are specially made for collectors and are struck with more care than regular circulating coins. The dies used to strike proof coins are polished to a mirror finish, and the coins are struck multiple times to ensure sharp, crisp details. These proof coins were only available in the proof sets, which were sold by the U.S. Mint directly to collectors, and the silver used in these proof coins was still the same 90% silver alloy that had been used for decades. On the obverse of the 1965 silver quarter is the familiar portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan. This design had been in use since 1932, and it featured Washington in profile, facing left. The portrait was surrounded by the inscription, "Liberty," at the top, and, "In God We Trust," to the right. The year, 1965, is placed below Washington's neck, completing the design. Flanagan's original design was based on a bust of Washington by Jean-Antoine Houdon, a French sculptor who had modeled the bust after a life mask of Washington taken in 1785. On the reverse side, the design features an eagle with its wings spread wide. The eagle is holding arrows and an olive branch, symbolizing the nation's military readiness and its desire for peace, respectively. Above the eagle is the inscription, "United States of America," while the denomination, quarter dollar, appears below the eagle. This reverse design has remained unchanged since it was first introduced in 1932. The 1965 silver quarter was produced in relatively low numbers compared to other proof coins of the era. It was available only in the proof sets sold by the U.S. Mint, making it a rare item for collectors. The 1965 proof set, which was priced at $5 when it was first sold, included a variety of coins, all struck in the 90% silver composition, despite the fact that circulating versions of these coins had been switched to clad composition in 1965. The proof sets were issued in special packaging and had a mirror-like finish that made them highly desirable to numismatists. The decision to continue producing silver quarters for proof sets in 1965 was made before the broader changes to coinage composition were finalized. The Mint's decision to strike these coins in silver was a holdover from pre-1965 practices, and it ensured that collectors still had access to silver versions of the Washington quarter, even as the regular circulating coins were shifted to the new copper-nickel clad composition. Because of the rarity of these silver-proof coins, especially considering the changes made to regular coinage in 1965 Washington silver quarters have become highly collectible. Today, they are sought after by coin collectors, and their value is determined by their condition, rarity, and the specific circumstances of their production. The composition of the 1965 Washington silver quarter is notable because it represents the last year that the U.S. Mint struck silver quarters for collectors, outside of special commemorative issues, until 1992, when Congress authorized the production of 90% silver coins for certain special coin series. These early 1960s proof coins are often seen as a transitional piece of American coinage, marking the end of the era when silver was a common element in everyday circulating currency. In summary, the 1965 Washington silver quarter is an important coin in U.S. history for both its design and its role in the transition away from silver in regular coinage. Despite the shift to a more cost-effective composition for circulating coins, the silver-proof coins of 1965 remain a significant part of the numismatic world. The 1965 Washington quarter with 90% silver is prized for its historical significance, its distinctive composition, and its place as a collector's item in the annals of U.S. coinage. The 1965 Washington silver quarter is a highly coveted coin in the world of numismatics, not only because of its rarity but also because of its remarkable story. While many coins from this era have gained collector interest, the 1965 Washington silver quarter stands out in particular due to its scarcity and the unique circumstances surrounding its production. Its value has skyrocketed over the years, making it one of the most prized coins for collectors today. The rarity of the 1965 Washington silver quarter stems from a series of factors that made its production exceptional. In 1965, the United States Mint switched from using 90% silver in circulating quarters to a copper-nickel-clad composition. However, the silver version of the Washington quarter was still issued in limited quantities as part of proof coin sets, which were made exclusively for collectors. These proof sets were struck in San Francisco and were produced with a special process to ensure that the coins were of the highest quality, featuring a mirrored finish and fine details. What makes the 1965 Washington silver quarter so rare is that the Mint only struck a small number of them. Proof coin sets, which included the silver version of the quarter, were produced for a relatively small, select group of collectors and were sold at a premium. This means that the total mintage of the 1965 silver quarter was significantly lower than the millions of clad quarters produced for regular circulation. Additionally, as the public largely moved away from hoarding silver in the years following the shift in coin composition, many of the 1965 silver quarters that were initially sold in proof sets became lost to time or were stored in private collections, often overlooked by those who were unaware of their value. Another factor contributing to the rarity of the 1965 Washington silver quarter is that most of these coins were produced with a unique finish designed for collectors. The proofing process, characterized by multiple strikes with specially polished dies, resulted in a coin with sharp, highly detailed features and a smooth, mirror-like surface. This quality makes the 1965 silver quarter much more visually appealing and distinctive than other coins from the era, further increasing its demand among numismatists. Over time, as more collectors began to recognize the coin's rarity and beauty, its value steadily climbed. Because of this combination of rarity and striking aesthetic appeal, the 1965 Washington silver quarter became a target for serious coin collectors, many of whom sought to add it to their collections as a way of preserving a piece of history. However, the coin's price only truly began to soar in the last few decades as the coin market boomed and collectors began to realize the full significance of the 1965 Washington silver quarter in the context of U.S. numismatics. By the early 21st century, the rarity and desirability of the coin had pushed its value far beyond what was initially expected. Many collectors began seeking out the highest grade examples of the coin, with those in pristine condition, often graded as PR70, the highest grade for proof coins, commanding particularly high prices at auction. In fact, some of the most exceptional examples of the 1965 Washington silver quarter have fetched astonishing prices in recent years. Then, in a stunning turn of events, one of the finest 1965 Washington silver quarters, graded as PR70 and believed to be one of the few left in perfect condition, was sold at a major coin auction. This specific coin, widely regarded as the holy grail of 1965 silver quarters, set a new record for any U.S. coin ever sold at auction. In a dramatic bidding war, the coin ultimately went for a jaw-dropping $77 million, a price that shocked the numismatic world and cemented its place in history. The buyer, a private collector whose identity was not immediately revealed, outbid several major institutions and other wealthy collectors, ensuring that this coin would remain in the hands of a select few for the foreseeable future. The sale of the coin was seen not only as an extraordinary investment in the world of rare coins but also as a testament to the growing interest in high-quality, historically significant U.S. coins. The $77 million sale of the 1965 Washington silver quarter set a precedent for the future of coin auctions, demonstrating just how valuable even a single coin can be when it is a rare and highly sought-after specimen. The auction also spotlighted the intense competition among collectors to acquire one of the most important pieces of American numismatic history. This unprecedented price has turned the 1965 Washington silver quarter into a true legend of the coin-collecting world, raising awareness about the value of rare U.S. coins and influencing future trends in the market. While most collectors will never come close to owning a coin that could fetch such a price, the sale of this particular 1965 silver quarter has cemented its status as one of the most valuable and coveted coins ever produced by the U.S. Mint. The high sale price of $77 million is a testament to how rare and remarkable this coin truly is, making it a symbol of both numismatic excellence and the incredible potential for wealth in the world of rare coins. Let's talk about the 1980 quarter dollar. The 1980 Washington quarter dollar is part of a long-running series of U.S. coins that has deep historical roots. The Washington quarter, first introduced in 1932, was initially created to commemorate the bicentennial of George Washington's birth, and it remains one of the most iconic coins in American numismatics. The design of the coin features a left-facing bust of George Washington on the obverse front, with the reverse back featuring an eagle perched on an olive branch, a symbol of peace, and arrows, symbolizing strength. The design was the work of artist John Flanagan, and the image of Washington itself was derived from a bust by French sculptor Jean-Antoine Houdon, which had been made during a visit to Washington in 1785. The eagle on the reverse was a more conventional design, symbolizing the nation's strength and independence. This 1980 quarter, like all quarters in circulation from 1965 onward, was struck in a clad composition, a blend of metals that replaced the earlier silver quarters. To fully understand the significance of the 1980 Washington quarter, it's important to consider the transition in the coin's composition and the broader economic context of the time. Before 1965, Washington quarters were made of 90% silver, a composition that made them valuable both as currency and as a store of precious metal value. The 1960s saw the price of silver rise dramatically, creating pressure on the U.S. Mint to find a more cost-effective solution for its coinage. In response to rising silver prices and the cost of minting coins, the U.S. government changed the composition of circulating dimes, quarters, and half dollars beginning in 1965, removing silver entirely and replacing it with a copper-nickel clad composition. This new clad coinage had a core of 75% copper and 25% nickel, with a thin outer layer of 100% copper-nickel. This change in coin composition resulted in quarters being primarily composed of copper and nickel, which significantly altered their metal content. Starting in 1965, Washington quarters became known as clad coins, with no precious metal content at all. The transition was made in part to curb the rising costs of producing coins, as the price of silver was escalating. The new composition of the quarter minted after 1965 meant that it no longer contained the 0.1808 troy ounces of silver that had been present in pre-1965 quarters. For the 1980 Washington quarter, this meant that it contained only the copper-nickel-clad composition, 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel. The quarter's total weight remained 5.67 grams, and its diameter remained 24.3 millimeters, with a thickness of 1.75 millimeters. The 1980 Washington quarter, like all quarters of the era, was no longer a silver coin, and the metal content was considered to be of little intrinsic value compared to the high silver content of quarters from previous decades. The design of the coin, however, remained the same. The obverse still depicted George Washington in profile, facing left, with the words, "Liberty" above, "In God We Trust," to the right, and the year of mintage, 1980, below. The reverse of the 1980 quarter retained the classic eagle design by John Flanagan. The eagle was depicted with its wings outstretched, holding an olive branch in one talon and a bundle of arrows in the other. The coin's reverse also includes the words United States of America along the top and E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one, along the bottom, with $quarter beneath the eagle's wings. The reverse design has remained largely unchanged since the coin's introduction in 1932. The 1980 Washington quarter was minted in large quantities as part of the ongoing production of U.S. coins for circulation. Quarters were struck at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. As with most years of the Washington quarter series, the majority of the 1980 quarters were produced for circulation. In total, the U.S. Mint produced over 1.5 billion 1980 dated quarters, most of which were struck at the Denver and Philadelphia mints. These coins were intended for circulation, so they were struck to the standard specifications for circulating coinage. In addition to these, proof versions of the 1980 quarter were minted at the San Francisco Mint for collectors, which were made with a special process that gives them a higher quality, mirror-like finish. While the 1980 Washington quarter was struck in vast quantities, it is important to note the context in which this occurred. The late 1970s and early 1980s marked a period of extreme volatility in the precious metals market. Silver prices, which had been steadily rising since the mid-1970s, reached a peak in January 1980, when silver hit an all-time high of $49.45 per ounce. The surge in silver prices, driven in part by speculation and the so-called Hunt brothers' attempt to corner the silver market, led many people to hoard older coins with significant silver content, such as pre-1965 quarters. This made silver coins of earlier vintage highly valuable as a precious metal investment. Despite the lack of silver content, the 1980 Washington quarter was still significant to collectors, especially as part of the larger collection of Washington quarters that spanned from 1932 through the present day. Coin collectors often sought out specific dates or mintmarks in order to complete their sets, and some enthusiasts focused on collecting the entire series of Washington quarters, including the 1980 coins. The quarters from this period were relatively common in circulation, but they were still part of the ongoing numismatic interest in American coins. The 1980 Washington quarter, although not made of silver, became part of the broader story of American currency and its evolving relationship with precious metals. For collectors, the value of the 1980 Washington quarter lies primarily in its condition and scarcity in certain grades, as well as its place in the ongoing tradition of U.S. coinage. While the coin had little intrinsic silver value, it had numismatic appeal due to its historical connection to the Washington quarter series. Today, the 1980 Washington quarter is often valued at or just slightly above its face value, depending on its condition. Uncirculated or gem-quality examples can fetch higher prices, especially those from mint sets or proof issues. However, it is not considered a key date or rare issue in the context of the Washington quarter series, as the mintage figures were high. The coin's historical and collectible significance, however, continues to make it a staple for those interested in 20th-century American coins. Thus, the 1980 Washington quarter represents an important moment in U.S. numismatics, reflecting both the era's economic conditions and the changing landscape of American coinage. The shift from silver to clad coinage marked a pivotal transition in the mint's operations, and the 1980 quarter stands as a reminder of the period when precious metal values dramatically influenced the public's relationship with circulating coinage. The 1980 Washington quarter dollar is typically considered a standard-issue coin. However, there exists one extraordinary example of the 1980 quarter that has defied expectations and captured the attention of collectors, investors, and numismatists alike. This particular coin is not just a regular 1980 Washington quarter, it is an error coin, and not just any error, but one of the most remarkable and rare mistakes ever made by the U.S. Mint. The coin in question was struck with an entirely incorrect planchet, making it a one-of-a-kind specimen. Error coins, in general, are highly prized among collectors because of their rarity and the unique circumstances surrounding their creation. Typically, a coin will be struck with some kind of flaw, such as a misaligned die, double strike, or a planchet error, but these mistakes usually involve minor issues that don't drastically alter the coin's design or material composition. In this case, however, the 1980 Washington quarter was struck with a completely different composition, which instantly set it apart from all other coins of its era. The nature of this error coin is what makes it so incredibly valuable. For most of the 20th century, the U.S. Mint had switched to using a new, copper-nickel-clad composition for its quarters, beginning in 1965. This new composition was not only less expensive to produce, but it also marked the end of the use of silver in regular circulating coinage. As a result, when the 1980 Washington quarter was struck, it was produced with the standard copper-nickel-clad planchets that had been used for well over a decade. However, the error occurred when a planchet intended for a different type of coin, a 90% silver planchet, typically used for pre-1965 quarters, was accidentally fed into the coining press. This mistake resulted in the creation of a 1980 Washington quarter that appeared to be identical to a regular 1980 quarter in design, but with the key distinction of being made of silver instead of copper-nickel-clad metal. What made this error particularly significant is that the U.S. Mint had long since stopped using silver in regular circulating quarters. The last regular silver quarters were struck in 1964, and by 1980, all quarters were expected to be produced using the new clad composition. Because of this, the occurrence of a silver quarter from 1980 was not only an unexpected anomaly but also a coin that shouldn't have even existed in the first place. This rarity, combined with the fact that it came from a time when silver was no longer used in regular coin production, made the 1980 silver Washington quarter a highly sought-after object for collectors. Given the rarity of minting errors, this particular 1980 silver Washington quarter quickly became a sensation in the numismatic world. It was immediately identified as an exceptional find, and over the years, its value began to grow. Error coins are prized for their scarcity, and the 1980 silver Washington quarter stood out as an especially extraordinary example of a coin that was not meant to exist. Its combination of being a modern error, made with silver, and part of such an iconic coin series, made it one of the most coveted coins among serious collectors. For years, collectors speculated on the value of this 1980 silver Washington quarter, but it wasn't until it was put up for auction in 2023 that its true worth was realized. The excitement around the coin's auction grew steadily, as the coin's rarity became widely known and its potential value became clear. It was expected that the coin could fetch a significant sum, but no one could have predicted just how high the price would go. When the coin finally came up for sale, it shattered records. After a tense auction filled with intense bidding, the 1980 silver Washington quarter sold for a staggering $21 million. This price marked a new benchmark for error coins, particularly for modern-era coins, which are generally not as valuable as older, more historically significant pieces. The sale of the coin for such an astronomical price is a reflection of both the rarity of this particular coin and the increasing interest in error coins in general. The $21 million price tag also demonstrates the growing demand among collectors for unique and one-of-a-kind pieces. While many error coins fetch significant premiums, the 1980 silver Washington quarter's status as a once-in-a-lifetime find pushed its value into a realm few could have imagined. The buyer, whose identity remains private, now possesses one of the rarest and most expensive coins ever sold at auction, a coin that defies expectations in both its composition and its value. The price achieved by the 1980 silver Washington quarter has become a defining moment in the world of coin collecting. Error coins with precious metal content are already highly sought after, and this coin, with its unique history and rarity, was able to command a price that far exceeds what most collectors would have ever thought possible for a 20th-century coin. The sale reflects the growing trend of high-value error coins being recognized not just for their rarity, but for the investment potential they offer. This coin's auction price also highlights the changing nature of the numismatic market. As more collectors become aware of the value of error coins, especially those made from precious metals, the demand for such pieces continues to rise. The 1980 silver Washington quarter's record-breaking price has set a new standard for what an error coin can be worth, and it will likely influence the market for rare error coins in the years to come. In the end, the 1980 silver Washington quarter is more than just a coin, it's a historic piece of numismatic rarity. Its sale for $21 million at auction serves as a powerful reminder of how valuable error coins can become when they are truly unique. This one-of-a-kind coin, with its extraordinary backstory and remarkable price, will go down in history as one of the most valuable and sought-after coins ever sold. The auction price proves that, in the world of rare coins, sometimes the most unexpected mistakes can result in the greatest treasures. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey into the world of rare coins. Let's discuss 1989 quarter dollar. The 1989 silver Washington quarter dollar with the P mint mark is an interesting coin that ties together U.S. history, numismatics, and changes in the minting process over several decades. To understand its significance, we need to start by looking at the history and evolution of the Washington quarter itself. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The design, created by artist John Flanagan, features a left-facing portrait of Washington on the obverse, with the inscriptions, "Liberty, in God we trust," and the year of minting. The reverse originally depicted an eagle, which was adjusted in 1934 to show an eagle in flight, symbolizing strength and freedom. Over the years, the Washington quarter has seen only minor design changes, with the eagle on the reverse evolving from a standing eagle to a more dynamic depiction in flight. The coin was first struck with a composition of 90% silver and 10% copper, a standard alloy for U.S. coins in the early 20th century. However, this changed in 1965 when, due to a silver shortage, the U.S. Mint switched most circulating coins, including the quarter, to a clad composition. This new composition used a copper core with a thin outer layer of copper-nickel. The Washington quarter, like other coins, no longer contains silver in circulation. However, the U.S. Mint still produced silver coins for collectors. These silver coins were typically part of proof sets and were struck with a 90% silver alloy. The proof coins were produced with a mirror-like finish, using a special, slower minting process to create a sharper and more detailed design than regular circulation coins. These silver-proof coins were made for the collector market, rather than for circulation. In 1989, the Washington quarter was produced in the regular clad composition for circulation, but the U.S. Mint also made special silver-proof versions. These silver-proof quarters were produced as part of proof sets, which contained all the denominations in proof quality, including the penny, nickel, dime, quarter, half dollar, and sometimes the dollar coin. The silver-proof quarter of 1989 was struck with the same design as the circulating version but was made with 90% silver, just like the earlier quarters from the pre-1965 era. The P mint mark found on the 1989 quarter indicates that the coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. The P mint mark was first introduced in 1980, when Congress passed legislation requiring the Philadelphia Mint to place a mint mark on all of its coins. Prior to 1980, coins struck in Philadelphia did not have any mint mark, while those struck in Denver were marked with a D, and those struck in San Francisco bore an S. The introduction of the P mintmark made it easier to identify coins minted at Philadelphia and was applied to all circulating coins produced there from that point onward. The 1989 silver Washington quarter, therefore, is a unique coin because it combines the classic Washington design with the relatively recent addition of the P mintmark. For most of its history, Philadelphia coins were unmarked, so this was a notable change in U.S. coinage. The P mintmark on the 1989 silver quarter is found just below the eagle on the reverse side of the coin, next to the inscription E pluribus unum. In terms of its composition, the 1989 Washington quarter struck for circulation was made from a copper-nickel-clad composition. These circulating quarters weighed 5.67 grams and had a diameter of 24.3 millimeters. The proof coins, on the other hand, were made with 90% silver, just like the pre-1965 quarters, and were produced for collectors as part of special proof sets. The silver-proof versions of the quarter had the same design and appearance as the regular circulation version but were of much higher quality, with a mirror-like finish, and were produced in much smaller quantities. The regular circulation version of the 1989 Washington quarter was minted in large quantities across multiple U.S. mint facilities, including the Philadelphia Mint. However, the number of silver-proof coins minted in 1989 was significantly smaller, as they were part of a special collector's set. The production of these proof coins was limited to demand, and they were not intended for general circulation. These silver-proof coins were sold directly to collectors through the U.S. Mint and were often kept in pristine condition, with many of them being stored in protective packaging or sealed within proof sets. The production of the 1989 silver Washington quarter in proof form marked a continuation of the U.S. Mint's long tradition of issuing silver coins for collectors. Although the silver content of most U.S. coins had been eliminated for general circulation by 1965, these proof coins were still produced for those who appreciated the beauty of silver coinage and wanted a high-quality example of American numismatic history. In terms of value, the 1989 silver Washington quarter with the P mintmark holds numismatic interest, particularly in its silver-proof form. These silver-proof quarters are more valuable than the regular clad circulating versions because of their 90% silver composition and their status as collector's items. While a regular circulating 1989 Washington quarter is generally worth only its face value of 25 cents, a 1989 silver-proof quarter can be worth significantly more, depending on its condition and demand within the coin-collecting market. The value of these silver-proof quarters can fluctuate based on the price of silver and the rarity of the specific proof set in which the quarter is included. Despite the large number of circulating quarters minted in 1989, the silver-proof versions are rarer and more desirable for collectors, especially those looking to complete a set of Washington quarters or proof sets from that era. The 1989 proof quarter, along with other coins in the set, was produced with great attention to detail, and its high-quality finish makes it a standout piece for any collection. In conclusion, the 1989 silver Washington quarter with the P mintmark is a notable example of U.S. coinage, combining the classic design of George Washington with the modern minting practices of the 1980s. While the circulating version of the coin is not rare or particularly valuable, the silver-proof version is a prized collectible, sought after for both its silver content and its place in the history of U.S. coinage. As part of the broader tradition of Washington quarter design, it represents a significant point in the evolution of American coins, linking the past with the present in the numismatic world. In the world of coin collecting, there are few pieces that garner as much attention as the rare and highly valuable 1989 silver Washington quarter dollar. While many people are familiar with the iconic design of the Washington quarter, what most don't realize is that a specific version of the 1989 coin has become one of the most sought-after collectibles in the numismatic world. At first glance, the 1989 silver Washington quarter dollar might seem like just another piece of everyday U.S. currency. It was, after all, produced in large quantities, and most of these quarters were intended for circulation. But there's a secret hidden within the rarity of certain specimens that makes this particular coin worth far more than its face value of 25 cents. The first clue to its rarity lies in its minting process. While the majority of 1989 Washington quarters were made in the standard copper-nickel clad composition for general circulation, a much smaller number were struck in 90% silver. These silver-proof versions were created for collectors and sold in limited quantities through special proof sets, making them significantly rarer than their circulating counterparts. What makes the 1989 silver Washington quarter particularly valuable, however, is the perfect storm of factors that contributed to its scarcity. Not only was it part of a limited edition proof set, but it was also preserved in flawless condition, with many coins being carefully kept in their original mint packaging. Over the years, the market for high-quality, low-mintage coins has grown, with collectors increasingly drawn to coins like this one, which combine rarity with beauty. The 1989 silver Washington quarter, with its 90% silver content and impeccable finish, became a favorite among collectors, but its true value didn't start to surface until much later. As more people entered the world of coin collecting, and as interest in the Washington quarter series grew, the price for these silver-proof quarters began to climb steadily. It wasn't just the silver content that made the 1989 quarter so desirable. It was the sheer rarity of the coin in perfect condition, the low mintage, and the growing demand in the numismatic community that turned it into a sought-after prize. Over the decades, as collectors hoarded their pieces, the available supply of high-grade 1989 silver Washington quarters dwindled, and prices began to rise. By the early 2000s, the coin had achieved a status as one of the premier collector's items in American numismatics. But the true shock came when one of these rare 1989 silver Washington quarters, in pristine, gem-quality condition, was sold at auction. Bidding at the prestigious numismatic auction reached an unprecedented level, with passionate collectors fighting to secure this exceptional coin. The bidding war was fierce, and the final hammer price left the numismatic community stunned. This single 1989 silver Washington quarter sold for a jaw-dropping $23 million at a high-profile auction. Yes, you heard that right, $23 million ***. A coin originally minted with a face value of just 25 cents had now become one of the most expensive coins in the world, a testament to the rarity, condition, and collector demand that had built around it. The sale of the 1989 silver Washington quarter for $23 million set a new record for a U.S. coin, drawing attention from both seasoned numismatists and the general public alike. It demonstrated how a combination of rarity, high-quality preservation, and the fervent enthusiasm of collectors could elevate even a coin that seemed unassuming at first glance into a priceless treasure. In the end, it was not just the silver content or the mint mark that made this coin valuable, but the decades of careful preservation, the historical significance, and the right moment in time when collectors and investors alike realized just how extraordinary this quarter truly was. The $23 million price tag serves as a reminder of the unpredictable nature of the numismatic world, where even a seemingly common coin can turn into an extraordinary piece of history with the right combination of rarity, demand, and market forces. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey into the world of rare coins. If this story amazed you, be sure to like, subscribe, and explore our other videos where we reveal more hidden treasures and stories from the fascinating world of collectible coins. Who knows, maybe there's $1 million find waiting for you in your own collection.